Today's guest is Lucy Wood, who is the host and founder of Working Under Pleasure, a show that interviews change makers who unapologetically ask for what they want in and out of the bedroom, and of course, the ripple effects this has on the rest of their lives. She's a presenter, a public speaker, talking all about sex, love, and relationships. In addition to that, she also has a mission to ban those topics as taboo and empower people to embrace their sexuality, because someone who is embodying their sexuality is a powerful person. So, Lucy, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Pleasure. I'm feeling good. It's 7 a.m. here in Sydney, so I am wide awake. Most people get up at the crack of dawn over here. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm excited to be on today's show with you. So thank
Love
you for
it.
having me.
Well, you're very welcome. I appreciate you coming on, at the crack of dawn, especially. I guess it's for you, it's not a Monday, it's actually a Tuesday. You guys, you live in the future in Australia, so you guys are ahead. So yeah, I want to make sure you get the most out of this call. So I'd love for you to just kind of break down, how did you get to doing what you're doing, and tell us what you're all about.
Ooh, I love this question. So I've been podcasting for the last 4 years. For me, it was very much started as kind of a route of escaping out of my 9 to 5 mentally. Worked in the corporate world for, well, 15 years in sales in a very sort of hard, masculine, smash the deals, get all the numbers in. And I was very successful at it. But I knew that I needed deep connections, conversations. I wanted to cultivate those kind of relationships with people. And randomly I just got a mic and started podcasting, and that's kind of where it came from. But I know for me, I like to ask the difficult questions, and it gets me into trouble. It triggers me all the time, but it's a little bit of an addiction. So that's kind of where the show has now gone to. um and that's kind of, I moved to Australia in between. As you can tell, I'm English. Between those 4 years, moved to Australia just before the pandemic, which was an exciting time to say the least, to move over. And yeah, it's just kind of grown from there. It's actually the new show, Working Under Pleasure, has just, I feel quite overwhelmed with how successful it's already done, to be honest. There's a huge imposter syndrome when it hit the top 25% last week after 2 shows for me. So yeah, that's how it all started, I suppose.
Love it. Well, I mean, first and foremost, congratulations on having such a big jump in your ratings and in a successful podcast. That's awesome. Um, so
Thank
what I'd
you.
love to then just also jump into is like, okay, so is the main, and this is more for just my understanding as well. So like, is the main business that you're in, like it's podcasting and monetizing the podcast, or do you also have a coaching component with that?
No, this is where I'm at. This is the mind block for me already. I love how you've already gone into this, because I've tried coaching. It doesn't light me up. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. I've had some amazing coaches in my life, but I absorb a lot of people's energy, and I would rather be talking and teaching others through my voice and interviewing other people. That's my way of working. So I'm at the point now where I've never monetized off my podcast ever. And now I'm at these ratings at such a quick rate. I'm almost like, I need to monetize. I honestly do, because I quit corporate in September. I can feel all the financial anxiety like kicking back in, because I'm also a bit of a digital nomad. I love living in beautiful places in the world. And I'm at this point now where I don't want to go back into corporate, but my podcast has suddenly boomed, that I'm like at this point where I have a limiting belief around, how do I make my own money? So I've tried the coaching, I've tried sales coaching, I've tried LinkedIn consulting. I used to work for LinkedIn, and I've had clients that just won't pay me, and I've just not enjoyed it. So I've never actually made my own physical money. Um,
Okay.
I'm ready. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So, well, okay, I guess the first place that I would say, because at this point we're kind of just jumping right into it, which I like. So
Sorry.
no worries on my end with that. So out of what you've shared so far, right, from the outside looking in, what I'm picking up is, so there is a clarity aspect to it. Like, I don't actually know what it is that I enjoy outside of the podcast that I could potentially make money in. So it's like, what's the most resonant, aligned way to call money in? then there's like the strategic aspect of like, well, how do I actually monetize whatever that thing might be? And then
Hmm.
there's like the head trash piece, which kind of, in my opinion, overlaps both of those. Of like, you mentioned the imposter syndrome. There's like, I've never made my own money. If I can make for somebody else, but not for me. So out of those three, which one seems most resonant to you or most relevant to dive into right now?
The money one for me.
Okay. And how would you word the money one in your own words?
Uh, I've done a lot of reflection on like my family lineage and why I think the way I do. And my dad had his own business. No disrespect, I love my parents dearly. And he never made any money. Whereas my mum was the breadwinner of our family and she was very high up in corporate. And I'm the firstborn child and I'm a female. So I've absorbed that. But there's still something missing that I'm not realizing, right? Like there's still something there that I can't see, you know? Um, and I think it's like a codependency thing. Like when I'll quote a customer, I'll get this like big anxiety, like, oh my God, they need to pay now. Like they need to pay now. And like it's absolutely fine, but it doesn't feel right with what I'm charging. Like I'm just trying to work out, how I can generate money doing what I love. That's the belief. Can't generate money doing what I love.
Okay. So why do you think that?
Because it's supposed to be hard to make money, right? You're supposed to do long hours. I know this is all wrong what I'm telling you, but yeah, like I see people doing it, but I don't believe I can do it myself.
Okay. So, well, okay. So, first things first, I just want to say that all of you is welcome here. Okay. So,
Yeah.
the judgment of like, I know this is right, or I know this is wrong. I'm saying it wrong. It shouldn't be this way.
Uh-huh.
I just want to celebrate you for sharing it openly, because it's like the more real we can present whatever the thing is, the more real of a route we can get to, i.e. you can only change what you can see,
Yeah.
right? So we want to see the most realist thing. So from my perspective, whatever it is you want to bring to your container, I'm okay with. Wrong, stupid, silly, emotional, like it all is fine on my end. Okay. So just number one, I want to make
Great.
that clear. Number two,
Okay.
so I can't generate money doing what I love. It's supposed to be hard. I can't do
Yeah.
it by myself. So right now it seems you actually are manifesting the perfect reflection of those really or of those beliefs.
Yeah. And I'm frustrated because I know that.
Perfect. So when you look at this whole, I can't generate money doing what I love. So is it fair to say that your whole corporate career was like, I didn't actually love being in it, but I could generate money there?
Yeah. Yeah. But when I look at it now, because I was in sales, I made a lot of money for what I thought I made a lot of money. But when I've been traveling around like Bali and LA last year, I've been surrounded by entrepreneurs. I actually haven't made that much money in relation to the people that I've met. And that's why now I'm seeing expanders, the people that have got to the point where I am, but there's that disconnect for me where all I know to make money to a similar level to them is through a corporate sales job that I hate
Got
without
it.
swearing.
So it's also then what's possible, right? Like what's possible for
Exactly.
me. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned early on that like, okay, coaching wasn't your thing because you just like didn't like it. It took a lot of energy, etc. So just curious to know, if you got paid $10,000 to coach, would it still feel the same way?
I'd feel inauthentic.
Okay. So tell me more about that.
Like I wouldn't feel genuine. Why would I? Oh God, I don't even know where I said that, but it came out. Why would I why would I be able to charge that much? Why would I be able to charge that much? Even though I look at people that do something similar that I would do and I'm like, oh my God, I know more, but I don't say
Okay. So
it.
that's one discussion of, well, how could I possibly charge that much? What is it I can bring to the table to charge that much? And we can put that into the imposter syndrome category. The original question, though, was if you did get that much money for it. So if you can put those other beliefs aside, but if you did get $10,000 for it, would it still feel draining and not aligned with what you do?
Yeah, it
It would.
would.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So for you, it's about like, I need to be the one that's teaching. I need to be the one that's sharing. I need people to just learn from me as that example.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So in that case, what is wrong with making money from being that example?
I don't feel like I'm that example, even though the rate, like, even though other external factors are saying otherwise. And I get some amazing people messaging me about like things that they've had that have happened through listening, through, various guests, various conversations, marriages ending, marriages being created, babies being created, all these crazy things. And I've only just recently started to reply back and say, like, can you give it a rating? And I think that's why it's grown so quickly to the rate that it has, because I actually asked for something. But it's at the point now where I don't know, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see what's next.
Okay.
There's a real
And
block there. It's really frustrating.
yeah, that's fine. And like when I'm asking you these questions and when you're in this space, like how are you actually feeling right now?
I feel on edge. Like I'm very much, as you probably hear from my show, I'm an open book, but right now I feel really uncomfortable. Like my throat is sore.
Okay. And when you say uncomfortable, what's the actual feeling?
A feeling of like being put like in front of, the feeling of being called out, right? Which is what I love. This is why I wanted to join this. It's the feeling of knowing there are these blocks, but not knowing where to go next. So it's confusion for me. It's confusion and frustration right now. Of I know there's something missing, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, got it. And the discomfort is the fear of coming out or finding out, or the confusion around it?
The fear of coming out.
Okay. And what would be so scary to find out what that block is?
Oh, then I've got nothing to hide behind. It's the fear of my own success.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. It's it's the fear of being seen, ironically, even though I have a show. But I've had people before now, and I'm learning not to listen to them, where they'll message me, and everyone gets it, right? Really pretty nasty messages, or just comments that you're like, this is really inappropriate. I would never do that to someone else. And if I now go about it and create it as a business and monetize off it, I'm worried that that's going to expedite it even more. But it means I'm holding back so much my own lifestyle and my own life, where yeah, I'm giving so much. It's the fear of receiving.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm chatting a lot.
Okay. So fear of receiving, fear of success, right? So both of those. And
Yeah,
if we dive into that, if I receive in abundance, then fill in the blank.
then I'm selfish.
Okay. And if I'm selfish, then fill in the blank.
Then I'm on my own. Then I'm disconnected from communities, from from support. Even though I feel like I disconnect myself quite a lot anyway to do things like this.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, then I'm ostracized.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So if I receive in abundance, then I'm selfish. And if I'm selfish, then I'll be ostracized. So I have to ensure
Mhm.
to stay there by constantly giving, because then ensures I kind of stay with the quote unquote tribe. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that something that's absolutely like a new realization? Or like I've kind of already known that from before.
A combination. I feel like I've known it, but I've never voiced it.
Okay. Got it. And what comes up when you voice it?
Um, I get a feeling of like a wave of sadness, of like it goes back to people pleasing, which is something I'm so consciously working on at the moment. Um, and the fear of rejection, because the conversations can be pretty out there, which I love, but equally I am nervous sometimes to get feedback and responses because it
Mhm.
triggers people, which is
Right.
also why I love it. It's a love-hate situation.
Which is the part that helps the other. But as far as like you, right? I mean, it helps the other if the other person takes it as an invitation. But as far as you, it's like, well, there's more examples that if I'm louder, bigger, more magnificent, and actually succeeding and being able to do this long term, it's going to continue to grow. The more it grows is direct proportion
Mm.
to how pushed away and ostracized I actually get. Right. Then there's
Yeah.
evidence that I'm being supremely selfish. I'm doing what I love. I'm
Yeah.
making money and I'm so bright and big. Like that is the ultimate, like selfish kind of fuck you, to like everything. So obviously you're going to be freaked out
Yeah.
if this is what you're operating from. So what lands for you there?
But I have experiences that I can back that up with, like I've had very good close friends, like um before, that have turned around and been like, I don't want, you've really triggered me in this podcast. Not that I've ever named anyone, nor would I ever talk directly about a friendship. They've just taken something as something they've related to them, and I lost about like a massive group of girlfriends when I just moved over here. And for me, that's community, that's my tribe. And I lost all of them because one of them was like, I can't believe you've spoken up about something, and it wasn't even related to her. It wasn't, I didn't even, it took me weeks to even realize what she was talking about, because I had to go back and listen to what she was relating to, and she wouldn't talk to me, and she just, all of this girl group just cut me out. And that's like horrible when you move to a new country, right? During a pandemic as well. That was just devastating. And I've had other people before in my life that have said something similar, like, why are you podcasting? You don't need to podcast. And now I've actually removed them from my life. But it's still a big fear.
100%. It's like not only are they fears rooted in already limiting beliefs, but now reality has given you evidence to actually, continue to support them as actually
Yeah.
real. So it shouldn't be discounted as like, okay, well, whatever, like screw them. Like, not at all. These are very real things with real people that you've had relationships with that is going to have an impact on you.
Mm-hmm.
So this discussion isn't so much about, them. It's about you have a vision for where you're going to go. Not everybody can
Mm-hmm.
follow you there, and how they not follow you there is going to look different depending on the individual. But it's like what is within your control, that's really the only part that you can optimize for or impact, right? So it comes back to, okay, you do want to make this life that you envision. If people have to leave in the process, can you at least logically live with that for the time being?
Yes, I mean, I've got through it before, right? I can get through it again, but it really grates on me, like, to be liked. It's really frustrating. I actually, it frustrates me a lot. Yeah.
Which the need to be liked, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another one, right? It goes back to the people pleasing. I
Sorry.
also need to be liked. Okay. So they all interconnect there. Okay. Um, one of the other ones that you mentioned that I think is relevant here is this whole sentiment of like, I can make money for somebody else or doing something else, but I can't make
Mhm.
money for me. So to tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I can't understand it. Like, it's I studied business back in the UK at a university in Oxford. Like, I was business student of the year. Like, I understand finances. I understand all of it contextually via a textbook, but I can't I can't physically in life. It terrifies me, someone paying me money for something I've done for them. Like, it actually terrifies me.
You mean like like I've done something, like you've done something good for me and I want to give you money, it terrifies you to receive it.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
why? Well, what is so terrifying about that?
Because it means I'm then in a contract, or I'm in some form of like committed situation where there's a financial obligation. But for me, I see money as a form of abandonment, because my mum went back to work when I was 2 weeks old, and she was doing that out of pure, support for me to grow as a child and to thrive. And I'm very grateful for the finances I had when I was younger. But that is still associated in my mind, and I've done so much work on it, but it's still the root cause that comes up when you ask me that question.
Yeah. And how would you not be terrified if money means abandonment? Right.
True.
It's different if you're
Yeah.
selling somebody else's stuff. So the contract, like you are the middleman between whatever you sell and then somebody else does the fulfillment. So
Mm-hmm.
you've done your job, you've been a good girl there. But when it
Mm.
comes to now, the contract is on me, responsibility is on me. Now that's obligation, that's responsibility. That means I have to go out and do the work, right? But
Yeah.
the result of doing that work is I have to abandon myself and or somebody else, at least to
Yeah.
this part of you. So what lands for you there?
Yeah. It's abandonment of myself for someone else. But it's also like a self-sabotage. I will immediately start thinking, how can I get out of this situation?
Okay. So I actively push the money away.
Yeah, actively, yeah.
Okay. So do you
Or,
think,
sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, or I bring on, attract a client that I know does not authentically feel good from the get-go. So I automatically set myself up for that situation.
Right, of course, because subconsciously
Yeah,
you're aware this person's not ready to change. They don't want to change. They don't want to pay, like whatever quality they have
exactly.
that makes them a quote unquote bad client. So then, of course, I'm going to put all my energies into it because I know I can't be abandoned if I go all in on this person.
Yes.
Right. So in that instance, is it actually a fear of money or is this more protection from abandonment?
Protection of abandonment.
Correct. Right. The fear of money is basically the symptom of that root.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think you're going to be in a position to really receive a lot of money if at the end of the day, the fundamental way you receive or think about receiving money is the more I receive, the more abandoned I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And then put that into what you explained earlier. The bigger I get, the more hate there's going to be, the more ostracized I'm going to be. Why? Because
Yeah.
bigness, success, and finances always means abandonment.
Yeah. I can feel my throat on fire while you saying that. Yeah.
Okay. So if you
Yeah.
tune into your throat, what's coming up there?
My heart is literally pounding. I'm just imagining being in that situation right now. I'm imagining, because I've always been a very switched on person, and I've often had people say to me, "You're too much. You're too smart. You're too switched on." And I've been like, "Oh my god, okay, play it small." And that also just comes into that loop as well. And I don't want to sound like a victim at all, by the way, in this, but that's just what's coming up in my mind. And so I've often played it small in every area of my life, and particularly that. Yeah. Oh god, it's so obvious.
Okay. So again, was this something
Oh
you've realized but just haven't vocalized before?
yes.
Okay. And again, what's coming up for you when you are vocalizing it?
um can I don't know if I can swear on your show, but how do I get out of this? Like, I'm 32 and I'm like, okay, this has like been going on for so long. How do I get out? How does it stop? Because
Right. So
also I want to set an example. You know, I want to. This is a family thing. I see it in everyone in my family, and I'm the change maker in
yeah, I get it. That whole generational pattern stops with you
this.
is a big thing. So I commend you for it. So I guess
Thank
to
you.
kind of dive into your question, well, what have you tried to get rid of these patterns?
What have I tried?
Hmm.
Is that the question? I've done a lot of like neuro linguistic programming. I've done a lot of like neuroplasticity, deep imaginings through meditations. I've done ayahuasca. I've done therapy. Yeah, but it's still there.
Okay. And what, from your perspective, what do you think is missing? Why do you think it hasn't quote unquote gone away?
The first thing that comes to my mind is like community, like seeing people, being surrounded by people that are doing it. I often surround myself by people where I am the smartest in the room when I know that is the wrong thing to do. And that's from a safety perspective. But it comes within, I know the answer is that it comes within me. I just don't know, I don't know what to say.
Okay. So the question was, okay, well, why do you think it didn't work? Your brain goes to, and I think if I didn't hear this correctly, you can correct me. It's like I'm usually in rooms where like I'm the most knowledgeable or smartest person in the room. So like not in the
Yeah,
right room that's gonna, okay, perfect. So great way to self-sabotage that actual change, right? Like if I put
yeah,
myself in situations again, just like with the clients where like I know on a level like this
yeah,
isn't really for me. Okay.
yeah.
So goes back to the same question then. Why do you think this hasn't changed? Why do you think your efforts to change this hasn't resulted in permanent change?
To stay in safety, or what I see as safety.
Correct. Right. Your past has shown you that you're prioritizing safety
Yeah,
through the guise of awareness. And what I mean by that is like NLP, deep visualization, therapy, sometimes to some degree, like plant medicines. It's all awareness to a large
mm-hmm.
degree, right? As I said multiple times today, nothing that I've said or reflected back to you has been earth-shatteringly new. I've not vocalized it. All of my throat is locked up. So that means everything's happening in my head. You're not actually speaking anything out. So there's not really a process of releasing some of these stuck energies. The fact that your throat is constantly like on fire as I'm talking about your thing, right? You can only
Yeah,
imagine how much you're holding back in your throat chakra to actually like move any of these energies. And I'm constantly putting myself in rooms
mm-hmm.
where the general consent is going to be getting more awareness, but I'm petrified of actual change. So I put this nice bond as I understand it better, but I'm not actually changing.
Yeah.
So I know that was a lot. So what's landing for you there?
I'm trying not to laugh, but like this is why I've ended up back in Australia. Like this is my safe zone here. You know, like I panicked and I left Bali in December, and Bali's not my place anyway from like a business level, but I want to be in Dubai this year because it's always felt right for me. But there are so many expansive people whenever I go to Dubai that I meet. I learn so much in such a short space of time. But I freaked out. I'm at a point where I'm running out of cash, and my only place is to come back to Australia because it's my safe space, right? There's no triggering parents over here. My friends totally accept me for who I am, and you know they do the lifestyle that I used to do, and I'm kind of heading back that way right now in my mind. You know,
Right. So do you
cash is
think
running out.
change is going to exist in your comfort zone?
No way,
Agreed. And
and
do
I'm
you think
bored.
your demons travel with you or they stay in certain countries while you get to leave?
No, they travel with me.
Right. So you take them everywhere you go. You're
Yeah.
constantly going towards comfort zones. You prioritize awareness because it's safe. If you put all of those together, the question really becomes, do you actually want to change?
Yes.
Okay. but your
I'm
results and your
frustrated. I wake up
actions.
in the middle of the night by
Okay. So I guess different question then is, you have a desire to change. There's
it.
maybe a part of you that is ready to change, but your results and your actions show otherwise.
Correct.
Okay. So what comes up for you when I reflect that back?
I don't know how to change that.
Okay. So obviously that's a much more involved question. I mean, that's what I do in my coaching is I help you eliminate these. But for the sake of like exploration, who or what would you be without all of these limiting patterns?
I don't know. Well, I've been my authentic self, but I don't know who that is.
Okay. So imagine that you didn't feel or fear success and receiving money. Who would you be?
I would be absolutely multi-millionaire that would be able to help so many lives, which is one of my driving forces around being who I want to be, to help other people through my finances.
Okay. And what would you create from that space?
I want my show to be global. I want it to be a TV show. I want everyone to be able to, I want it to use their own voices to speak up for what they want in life. It doesn't need to be with a bedroom, it can be any kind of vulnerable conversation. And what I want is then to be able to help fund and support people that have gone through sexual trauma, sexual abuse, domestic violence through the money that I'll make. And also, I want to live a bougie ass life. I'm meant for that. Um, and I want to set an example to other people that they can do it. Not enough people are doing it right now, ironically, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
And do you think you can get there from your comfort zone?
No. But I'm also addicted to being out of my comfort zone, which is why I think I'm in this position where I'm not in a good financial position right now. But I keep telling myself it's good to be uncomfortable. It's good to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, but this isn't a smart uncomfortable situation. Finances, this is a stupid uncomfortable. So I also need to learn now what is comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, because that's how I keep making excuses for my finances right now.
Sure. So would an alternative, and you can let me know if this resonates or not, but
Okay.
what if you were just addicted not to putting yourself in uncomfortable situations for growth, but what if you were just addicted to chaos and instability?
Yeah, 100% that's what I'm addicted to.
Okay. So that's very important because finances that are feast and famine is chaos and instability. That is way different
Yeah.
than putting yourself in uncomfortable situations that are geared towards growth.
I can't wait to re-listen to this because I feel like this is hitting home, but it's going over my head. But I understand what you're saying. Do you see
Okay.
what I mean?
So that last part, why do you think
Yeah.
it's not landing? And great awareness, by the way.
Thank you. Can you just say that bit again? It will go in. I just need to
Right.
hear it
So
again.
I'll give you some context as well with it. I believe that words are extremely important. They're extremely powerful because they end up being the coding language of our reality. The words we
Yeah.
use ultimately code the reality we experience. Your words that your brain decided to use is I am comfortable, or I put myself in uncomfortable situations under this pretext of growth. Like I need to be in these uncomfortable situations so that I can like grow and get better out of them. Cool. That
Mm,
sounds great and awesome. And I agree with it. However, you're choosing words that sound great to put a bow on something that is kind of rotten on the inside, which is if you look at your
mm-hmm,
results and your actions and your actual decisions, you are actually just comfortable with chaos and instability,
mm.
which is the addictive pattern of putting yourself in situations where you can constantly be in fight or flight.
Yeah. But that's what I was used to as a child.
Absolutely. Right. So again, your awareness is on
Yeah.
point, right? Like you can see all of the connections and all of that. You don't lack awareness, you lack transcendence,
What
right?
do you
Like
mean
your
by
real
transcendence?
uncomfortable point here is to actually put a stop to all of these patterns and really
Yeah.
step into, like you said, that part of you that is big, that wants to live a bougie life, that wants to be a multimillionaire, that wants to impact a whole lot of people. You can't get there from here.
Hmm.
But your whole priority has been recreating the instability and chaos of your
Hmm.
childhood now as an adult, which the easiest way to do that is generally relationships and finances.
Yeah, I've done that in relationships as well,
Right.
obviously.
So again, I know there's a lot thrown your way. What's landing?
What, like, I say this in my own podcast, and I never claim to be an expert, which is why I have people on my show, but love and sex, relationships and love come hand in hand. And if something, what I realized recently, if something feels too easy, is in a to and flow, well, that doesn't feel right. That's alarm bells ringing for me.
Right, because at the very beginning of this, you said things have to be hard. Like you said, you have to work hard to
Exactly.
make money. But I think now it extends further to, if something's in flow and it's easy, what is it not? It's not chaotic and it's stable, meaning the most
Yeah.
familiar feeling that your nervous system has is one of chaos and instability. Flow,
Hmm.
ease, even though you desire that, it's actually the most threatening thing to your system because it's so unfamiliar.
Yeah.
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 So again, we keep going back to that circle of, you're constantly in a state of fight or flight because that's what you're most familiar with, even though that's not where your goals lie, that's not where your desires lie. A lot of your
Yeah.
healing is going to come from having to let that go, transcending into and figuring out. Because if you remember, like you
Mhm.
couldn't, you didn't even know, like you couldn't even use your imagination to be like, well, who am I without these limits? Like, I have no idea. Right. And then it was secondary prompting of like, okay, well, just imagine you had no money issues. What would you do? Oh, it would be XYZ. Right. So you
Yeah.
see how much, like how incessant those blocks actually are, to the point where
Hmm.
I've done a lot of NLP, I've done a lot of deep visualizations, yet I can't even imagine who I would be without somebody that prioritizes chaos as a comfort zone.
Yeah.
So again, what's landing your way?
Um, well, now it's like, how am I gonna consistently be okay with flow and ease actually coming into my life? Because I'm
Right.
literally looking at so many situations that I've self-sabotaged now that I haven't even realized I
Yeah. So again, I mean, I know there's a lot here. These are big questions, and I do actually have a hard stop, so I don't want to like
That's
discount
okay.
your questions. But just from the perspective of like mapping this out and diagnosing the patterns, does this feel complete for
Hmm.
you, or is there still something left outstanding?
I feel like I don't know where else I could go with this right now, to be honest.
Fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you then just close us off, okay? Because I can see it needs some time to percolate, which is totally fine. So floor is yours, right? Just close us off and let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, after that, on that note, so I have a weekly show where I interview the change makers in the world who are talking openly about what they want in and out of the bedroom. And it doesn't necessarily mean sex. We often go down the sex route, like it comes hand in hand with love, sex, and relationships. But it's really about showcasing you that you can achieve what you want to do if you use your voice, if you speak up for what you want. And that's through my own experiences in life of never speaking up what I wanted as a very young child, through going through things like disordered eating, and realizing that if you have the vulnerable conversations like this, for example, there's a whole ripple effect in the rest of your life. So, yeah, each week I interview someone, we talk about the best ways to achieve pleasure, can be sexually, can be mentally, emotionally, whatever kind of thing that lights your boat. So we have fetishes, open relationships, we go into everything. So yeah, join me every Wednesday, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this happens, where this heads to.
Love it. Well, definitely, as always, we'll include that in the show notes. And then before we close off, I did just want
Thank
to
you.
acknowledge you for allowing yourself to be witnessed in this way, right? Takes a special person to allow yourself to walk your own talk of vulnerability. So I commend you um, for that, and just the bravery for allowing yourself to be seen in this way. So thank you very much for that. And for everybody else
Pleasure.
listening, we'll see you on the next one.